Good morning, everybody. Hello, Cancer. Welcome to your June 2020 reading. I hope that you're all doing well. I'm really looking forward to bringing through the messages that have been coming through in meditation this morning, and I can't wait to see what the cards have in store for you for the month ahead as well. I'm going to put Apollo down, and I'd like to give everybody a proper introduction. First of all, I see some people showed up early, so I want to welcome you. Whether this is your first time or you're a returning viewer, again, this is an honor for me to be here, and I think some really important messages will be coming through today, so I'm glad you showed up. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh, and every month, as you know, I like to show up and try to bring through all of the possibilities for you. I believe in free will, and what we're going to be doing today is reading what's coming through, showing paths of least and most resistance, basically. This is a general reading for everyone in the sign. I don't do Q&A, but there's a lot to kind of take in, and I want to talk about the different kind of sections of this video. It starts off with a psychic download. I call it the channeled information. Before I show up, I like to meditate and just kind of allow for the energy and information to come through. So I'll share with you what I saw, heard, and felt during the meditation. After that, I will move along to the Celtic Cross, and I have a deck selected for you today that I like it because it's two-sided, so it's going to be able to show us a lot of insights in what's going on. So there's really no reversals with this particular deck. After that, we'll expand the forecast to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. And then we go into a healing portion that sort of expands upon some of the insights that we find in the Celtic Cross, the channeled messages. And each reading, I kind of go where I need to. Yesterday, it was about forgiveness. Today, it's actually kind of about a balance between control and facing fears. So we'll talk about that as we get into the channeled message in a moment. I also incorporate, like I said, a meditation with some sound therapy at the end. So please stick around. It does help, and it helps us kind of integrate everything that we talked about. Because this is live, you can definitely participate. I welcome chat, particularly relevant chat, because I think it's a great way for us to support each other, and it's nice to see you guys kind of resonating with what's going on. You can also use Super Chat, and Super Chat is this little kind of icon by the smiley face, the $sign. And from that, you can take a look at some stickers and some positive sort of phrases that you can put out there if you like what you're seeing. So I don't do Q&A and I don't do pick a card, but when you do give back in that way, it helps me continue to buy new supplies. So thank you in advance for anyone that's thinking of doing that. I'll put a little call out after the video's on replay for you. And one last thing before I get started, if you enjoy what you see today, please subscribe and hit the like button. It is super easy, but it actually helps me pop up in the recommendations so more people can find it. If you ever wonder why a lot of sort of creators ask for that, that's why. It just shows that it's relevant. So if you like it, show that you enjoy it. It costs nothing to do that. There are other ways to give back, but let's get into the messages first, and I can talk about that later. Special thanks to both Ryan and Maria, who always show up and help sort of answer your questions while I'm working, and I just appreciate them. So welcome back to, I see some familiar faces here in the chat. I also see a couple channel members like Steven, anyone with the green and the sort of icon after it. Thank you guys for continuing to support me as well. All right, let's get into what I was pulling in the meditation just a few minutes ago. The first thing that came through was the message of not being afraid of facing your fears or going into sort of the shadow energy that a lot of us see in everyday life, because any shadows that exist usually come through because we either attracted them or because they're trying to teach us. And for me, I actually see fear as almost like a shape-shifting energy. You can feed it. You can also diminish it based on what you're projecting out. It's a very receptive force. So what you could choose to do this month is to go into the things in your life where you feel like, I'm afraid, I'm triggered, I'm not sure what to do, and try to turn it upside down or inside out. One of the biggest ways that I can kind of personally face my own fears is through education, because I believe that knowledge will sort of cut right through ignorance, and fear is often reinforced by that lack of knowing or that insecurity that comes with the unknown. So as we get deeper into exploring the unknown or those sort of shadow parts of ourself, then we're no longer afraid. We start to feel like we have a little bit more control, and that kind of feeds into the next message that was coming through, which was to focus on control this month, because I feel like for some of you, this could be relationship based, going into that third chakra and feeling some of the energy that might exist with you and with coworkers or family members. But it can also be about how you control your reaction to stressful stimuli in your life, because stress itself is actually a choice. How deeply do you want to go into the energy of feeling kind of like out of control with your emotions? Finding a way to channel, to acknowledge, and to release is going to be really important. And a lot of times once we go into educating and figuring out, like, am I really just afraid of it, or am I just afraid of the unknown? Starting to control how you react to stress, all of a sudden you start to get this sense of being able to feel like you're grounded, that you can manage anything. So this then gives way to a feeling of freedom. And within freedom is also a little bit of the energy of the Fool, which is not to be afraid to take a risk, to try, to explore, to learn. I would say also to feel free to fail. Sometimes we look at failure as, I've done something wrong. It's actually part of the learning process. You have to explore things to figure out, does this work for me? If I failed, why did that happen? And what can I kind of gain from this? It's more about, I talked about this in yesterday's reading, it's about the recovery. Whenever something like that happens, that's the key to, I would say, the difference between someone that's successful or someone that's happy and someone that kind of gets stuck in that energy of, it didn't work this time. So maybe qualify it. Okay, maybe I failed this time, but next time I'm going to be so much more prepared. I've learned a lot. I'm going to be able to control my fear, and the worst fear is already done. If you fail, then you've got nothing to lose. So work on going into shadow energy this month, shining your light, learning about why you were triggered, controlling your emotions when the unknown comes through, and then feeling free to explore all of the possibilities without fear of regret or failure or being judged. There can be a lot of sort of fun when you go into that and think, I'll just give it a try. Again, the energy of the Fool came through pretty strong when I was focusing on that word. So hopefully that makes sense. And now we're going to move along to, I know, the part that all of you love. We're going to look at the cards. So I'm going to turn the camera down at this point. I'll be quiet while I do that, but afterwards we'll go through all the different meanings and relate it to the month ahead. Again, this is for June 2020. For those of you joining now, as we look at the past, the deep past and the recent past, a lot of those messages will be relevant for the here and now. Everything else is going to be for the month ahead. All right, let's take a look and see what's coming through now. All right, everybody, thank you so much for allowing me to take a look at everything and get it all laid out there. Okay, so your first message here is me time. Enjoy your own company. Isn't this the challenge during what we're all going through right now? I think that in the past, many of you were hoping to have more of that, and it's now coming through in abundance for many of you. The one thing that was interesting, this card was reversed. So I feel like there could be an opportunity to do more with this time, to learn more about what's going on internally, and also to realize that this is a kind of unique blessing that's going on. Usually we're fighting for that extra time, that space, that energy. So for those of you, I'm going to read this two ways because right now the world's a little fragmented in what it's doing. So for those of you that are either working from home, like shelter in place, etc., or have lost a job or are looking for work, what you want to try to do with this is not feel overwhelmed. Go into that energy of freedom, like I was saying, explore new things, learn new things. For those of you that are overworked, first responders and other folks that are basically being tapped because your industry is a necessary piece of the world right now, this is showing that it's the other end. I feel like we're at extremes right now. There's not a lot of in between. So for you, there's going to be a little bit of a dance or a balance that has to take place this month to try to find a way to be at peace with how much time you have to decompress. And if you're feeling like there's too much time, then as we look at the cards here, there'll be places where you can start to invest that energy and feel like you're more in control of that. But what I like with this is it's about meditation. We see a very cosmic energy to this. So instead of feeling like you're alone, or instead of feeling like there's this feeling that you're not connected, go deeper within, work on yourself. We have the Lovers card coming through here. That energy that you kind of fix and balance out will then be an attractive force to others. So we'll talk about that as we look at the Lovers card in just a moment. I want to start with the center though. Four of Pentacles. Okay, so the Four of Pentacles is a foundational card. It came through upright. And for me, the only thing to kind of be aware of with this is sometimes there's a tendency to hold on to things. You could be protecting this kind of fear of, sometimes it's a fear of, if I let go of this, what will come in its place? Because you're covering up your heart space, but you're also pulling it really close when you look at the coin that's usually at the center of this. So I would say, open up to the idea that you've just begun. It's like the tip of the iceberg, right? So you may only see this, but there's so much more depth. There's so much more opportunity that's coming through for you. And if you start to imagine that there are more possibilities, that this is the first act of a very long show, then I think you'll start to get excited about where you're headed. So that's the first kind of message here, is to think of possibilities beyond now and to open your heart up to abundance in all forms, in opportunities, in love, in other things in your life that might come through, learning opportunities. Just be open and try not to kind of hold on too much. For some of you, this is also a feeling like, I need to let go. It's time to move on, because we have the Hanged Man right over top of it, and it's neither upright nor reversed because it's crossing it. So with the Hanged Man, there's sometimes an energy of impatience, like this has to shift right now. Sometimes there's an understanding and an appreciation that, no, I've got a lot more to learn, so I'm going to sit with this. So I want you to figure out what end of the spectrum you are on and why you're sort of stagnating a bit, because the other thing is that that's a plateau. So if we look at, the plateauing energy of the Hanged Man and the sort of restriction that's part of the Four of Pentacles, it does feel like some of you might be holding on to a relationship, a job, or a way of thinking or being that it's kind of like you've outgrown it. It's like you're a snake that needs to shed its skin so it can grow and kind of move on. So I feel like right now the question would be, what do you need to be able to kind of move to the next level? What's holding you back? If it's finances, which makes a lot of sense because of the Four of Pentacles, then planning and looking for help, looking for a better paying job, talking to your boss, there's a lot of things that you can do. If you're waiting for work and looking for work, then it's also about being able to connect to other resources. So let's look at the other cards and see what messages are coming in. Deep past. So for those of you that are watching this before the month of June, this will apply to you. For everyone else, this is a reminder of what you need to make sure that you've incorporated. We have the Knight of Wands, which I love. In fact, I was talking a lot about this the other day, that this is a great card of movement and management. Sometimes when we get to the Queen or the King, there can be a tendency to kind of like dig your heels in and be stuck in a particular way of thinking or being. So I would say, what you want to try to do is move forward through actions, because I see Knight of Wands as a very demonstrative card, and also through putting things down on paper, like plans. Make a commitment to yourself and keep it. what you want to accomplish this month. And so if you're not normally a goals-oriented person, this is a good month to kind of test it out. And don't go overboard. I feel like sometimes whether it's like working out or trying to get things done, or, just anytime you kind of look at something new, it's like you want to pull it all in at once. Easy does it, because you're going to be more successful at accomplishing things if your goals are realistic and you're consistent with how you approach that. So pick one or two things this month, say you're going to do it, and then find a way each and every day to move the needle forward. Okay. But you have the required energy to manage things. And this month you have to manage and move. And also, this is a much more active card. So the king and the queen sometimes wait for things to happen or expect others to do it. This is much more a card of participation. So you will be an active participant in moving forward your goals, your dreams, making them a reality. Basically, that's how you're going to find your power this month. But you will be planning and doing. So it's kind of like the training wheels are still on when it comes to getting into that management mode, but it's starting up. Looking at recent past, a decision is necessary. We have the Two of Swords. The Two of Swords is probably one of the least frightening cards when it comes to the Suit of Swords. A lot of the Swords cards come through to reveal emotions and triggers, right? Some of them, I like the aces and the court cards, they can be really empowering. And the Six of Swords can show moving on. But the rest of the suit show various states of anxiety, fear, moving through the sort of catalog of emotions to get back to happy. This one is indecision or uncertainty or feeling of stagnation, as we saw with the Hanged Man. So what you might be faced with is a decision without a clear benefit or outcome. And this is where you're going to have to just sort your intuition and your feelings and think, I really feel drawn to that. And I feel like I've thought about this enough, because you have, based on the cards that I've seen. And at a certain point over the course of June, if you haven't already done it, you need to move forward. So it feels like that decision should have been made already, or it needs to be made during the first week of June. And if you've committed to something but haven't moved on it, this is about redirecting your attention. Because sometimes the Two of Swords can just be putting your hands over your eyes and trying to pretend like something's not there. So look at your life. What's working? What's not working? Look at your relationships. Is there something you need to talk about? This is transparency. It's picking a path. It's sticking to it. And it's not kind of looking over your shoulders, because now you have to move forward. That's why we have the Knight, and then a decision card, basically. So with the Two of Swords in the upright position, again, I just feel like you have to pick that path and move forward and commit and be fully awake. You're going to be fine. It's in the past. Let's look at what's moving you forward and really what's kind of coming through for the month of June. All right, we have Queen of Wands now. She is reversed. So I think before you can start to really make progress on where you're going, you need to understand like what it is you want to do. So this is making the decision, committing to it. And then I do believe that some of you may find a partner to help you out with that. You also may just kind of ease into the role of, yeah, I'm really enjoying feeling this sense of empowerment that comes with making a decision. She is reversed. So there are two things that come with a reversal. First of all, it's making sure that you don't forget who helped you and who's around you. If you look closely, we'll look at the upright queen. So in this one, there's a sense of kind of ease, comfort, kindness, and still control. In this one, you can see that it's a little bit more pulled within, and there's a couple of people here, but they're not working in concert. So this is maybe one of the elements of being a boss that you don't want to pull in. So remember gratitude, remember to tune into the people around you, and know that it's okay to also mold your plan and move with new information as it comes through over the course of the month. So if we kind of dig our heels in too deeply on one way of doing something, sometimes as we learn more, as we mature, as we get older, you kind of realize that way isn't the only way. And it's hard to admit I'm wrong, or, you know what, I agree with you. That's a good insight. But when you look at leadership, that's actually a great quality to say, you know what, this new sort of information has helped me evolve my opinion. And I think that we would be really wise to start to change with this information. So keep an open mind, keep an open heart. Admitting that you changed your mind or that you learned something is a sign of growth, not being weak. So good leaders stay open. And that's basically what this is reminding you to do, is to stay open and to listen. Because in this particular card, there are two people on either side of the queen that want to weigh in, but can't quite access her because she's not looking at them, if that makes sense. So we have the King of Wands here in the near future. So this is the partnership that we were sensing. And for some of you, this could be a family affair if we have a king, a queen, and a knight. It could also mean that there are some tricky situations when it comes to love. For me, when I'm sorry, this was the Six of Wands. Sorry, this was, I need to put on my glasses. So Six of Wands. So let me revise that. With the Six of Wands, actually, what this is about is not paying too much attention to what the group is thinking. So I want to hit rewind. With Six of Wands, first of all, the good news with Six of Wands is that you can accomplish great things this month. It's a sign that you are in a good space where the idea that you are bringing forward is something that people will react well to. But when the card is reversed, it can sometimes be playing to the crowd rather than going within and thinking, you know what, this is the reason that we're doing it, kind of sticking with what's appropriate. So if we look at the card in the two different positions, when it's upright, you're moving forward and you're attracting people to what's coming through because of, again, the momentum and the attractive energy of the idea. When it's reversed, you're trying to get into the minds of people, and you might be doing something simply because you think it will be successful for them, but not necessarily because it's the best thing. So when we look at leadership, sometimes you have to make a difficult decision or an unpopular decision, or you might be risking your popularity, again, by doing some of the things that we just talked about, which would be admitting that you're wrong, or that perhaps that you've evolved your idea and there's going to have to be a communication to the team. So you have to feel it, mind, body, and spirit. You have to be doing it because it's the right thing. And if all of those things are in check, then the crowd will follow you. And I think that's really important. So again, just to reiterate, we have the Knight of Wands, the Queen of Wands, and the Six of Wands. The Knight and the Queen can still be a team. The one thing that I want to look at with that team, since we're looking at two rather than three, is that there's a maturity difference. So with this, there might be a mentorship opportunity where either you're being mentored by someone or you have a mentee under you that's learning from you. There could also be, if you're in a love situation, a lack of maturity or an age difference that's kind of coming through. And if this happens, just remember the common interest, the common goal. And if it's a relationship, kind of sort it out and think if that's something that you're comfortable with. But I do see either age or maturity being an issue when it comes to business. And then as we also look at love, that could be something that you're dealing with. We have the Lovers in reverse in your ego this month. And one thing to think about this month is, how do you feel about, when we were talking about the shadow side or the triggers that are going on in your life, how do you feel about yourself? Is there anything that you're still trying to work through? An insecurity, an addiction, a fear, a frustration? If there is, this is the time to really go into that and find a way to clear it out, because otherwise you're going to be kind of role playing that in your relationship. And you don't want to do that because it's going to block what could be otherwise a very nice partnership or union. The Lover's card is an attractive force, whether it's upright or reversed. As I look at the two different ones, first of all, when the Lovers is upright, we really do see that partnership in harmony. When it's reversed, it's more about you and what you need to work on. That's the case with most cards in reverse. People ask why I read reversals. I do because it doubles the amount of sort of information and energy one can look at. It also can give me a chance to see what the internal work is that needs to be done. So when it's reversed, it's pointing at you. There's integration work to be done. There's self-love that you can work on. Also, you may decide to channel that energy into a project rather than a relationship. You might also be dealing with a relationship where the balance is off. And I talked about these two cards, being one where there's a sort of bossier energy, one where there's an energy of getting things done. So making sure that the balance of power and responsibility and maturity is something that you feel good about. So I think that figuring out who you are, what you want, and where you are in that relationship is going to be super important. And yes, this is the Revelations Tarot deck, so I'm glad you guys like it. All right, looking at the environment, we have the Three of Pentacles And it's reversed. I want to show you the upright position. You see here that person that's actively working on something, and they're going to get a return on it. The 3 of Pentacles, the 8 of Pentacles both show that forward motion. Now, look at what's going on with the reversal. It's almost as if the work that you've done has created a sense of maybe lack of motion, a lack of action, or that you're resting on the work that you've previously accomplished. This is saying, don't get complacent, don't get bored, don't get lazy. And if you're feeling uninspired or feeling just that lack of momentum, as is the case for those of you that might be students, this could just be like, how do I get engaged? Because by the way, that's a collegiate card, especially for those of you in college or getting ready for college. There's this feeling of, this isn't what I signed up for. This isn't what I thought it would be. But there's work to be done. This is basically saying you need to turn it around and still focus. It may not be what you want, but it's actually a really great, it's a great lesson for life. What do you think everybody else is having to do in the work world right now? Everyone from blue collar workers to regular kind of CEOs to also looking at television, late night talk show hosts, everybody's having to adapt. So if you can adapt to this now as a student, you can totally deal with it as an adult. And the adults out there are having to deal with it. We're all in this together. So this is turning things inside out, finding a way to stay motivated, finding a way to work with this unusual flow of work. It's impossible to not be impacted by what's going on right now. So you're either overemployed, underemployed, or changing the way you work. There's no, it's affecting everyone. So we're all in it together. I feel your discomfort, but this is just saying, find a way to try to turn it around, feel productive, feel inspired. You could also be overworked, because that looks to me like someone that's falling asleep. So take proper rest, re-ground yourself in what your original purpose and goal was and going after whatever it is that you're doing. Once you get back into that, or once you can see the higher good for that, then I feel like it all starts to come back into a place where you feel like I can do this again. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so now we'll take a look at the hopes, fears, and opportunities. We were just looking at the environment. By the way, because this is in the environment, if we look, I want to talk about one more thing. At the center, you have the 4 of Pentacles, which can be a limiting thought or sometimes a reluctance to move on or let go, like we said. This is showing me that when you let go, you actually can be more productive because you can focus a little bit. We see this person really working on something that they care about. So it's once we have space to create that we can actually do something. For those of you that have ever kind of gone through and cleaned out your desk, all of a sudden you can see things that you need to pay attention to. You also feel like I can now tackle something. There is something to letting go of an energy of something that was in the past and just feeling like, now I've got this, now I can do this. Okay, moving on to hopes, fears, and opportunity. We have the Chariot in reverse, and I want to look at the 2 different ones. Okay, so the interesting thing, when the Chariot's in the upright position, it just feels like you're being pulled along. When it's in the reverse mode here, we actually see someone who's losing their temper a little bit or feeling like they're losing control. Also kind of not keeping their eye on the road. So I would say one of the things that you can do this month is to try to find a way to, again, align yourself to your goal, to your dream. Look at the opportunity from a 360-degree angle and thinking, all right, you know, this is where I'm at. This is what's kind of helping me here, and this is how I got here. And understanding all the blessings and the blocks around you so that you don't get stuck in the one moment in time. How can you move beyond that block? And for some of you, there's this power struggle that we see between the Knight and the Queen. And, you know, I had accidentally looked at that one card and thought it was a king, but I feel like for some of you, there's this desire to meet that energy. So I would say don't be afraid to step into that so that you're more evenly matched. So you have what it takes to get there. If you feel like someone in your life is taking an opportunity or challenging you, well, move from the Knight to the King so that you can deal with that other personality. You have that boss energy. It's just you're ready for that leap of faith, so don't be afraid to take it. You still have 2 really great boss cards here, the Queen and the Chariot, so I like that. So it's just a matter of figuring out where you want to focus and how you're maybe going to split things if you're working with somebody. The End card is fantastic, probably one of my favorite cards in tarot. It's the Star. The Star was reversed, so when the Star is reversed, they did a good job on this. If you first look at the upright, you see that the person is, or the energy of the star is expressive. It's actually expanding outward. I think we have like flowers and butterflies and all that growth, and basically you in your power. She's looking down and it's almost like her reflection, but her reflection is hidden. It's kind of turning inwards. So when you're the star reversed, this is again why I read reversals, because you can see what the energy, the difference between the two star cards are, or the two positions are. It's almost as if you're trying to dim your light or not listen to what your higher self is telling you. It's like you're turning away from that insight from above. I would say this month, don't be afraid to show your colors, to go into what you truly want to do, and to know that as you step into that place of power, knowledge, higher self, then that's when abundance comes through. That's when the activation comes through. So you'll go into that energy of wanting to do again. If you're in a job and you just feel stuck, or if you're in a relationship and you just feel stuck, or any part of your life, school, etc., a change has to happen this month, and that's what we're seeing. And you have to make the choice, and you have to sort of like change the direction that you're headed in. So some of you might be doing some soul searching and thinking, I don't know, maybe I want to try this instead. Or you're going to push through something and think, I've worked so hard to get to this point that I can't afford not to finish it. So something has to happen internally. And we had the Four of Pentacles at the center, which is looking in at your heart first and foremost. So get your heart aligned with your goal and everything else is going to follow. Okay. Let's go ahead now and take a look at your expanded forecast. We're going to start with health. Health looks at mind, body, and spirit. So we have a message here saying, when I'm connected to my joyful presence, I attract support from the universe. So I believe this also has to do with the Lover's card that we were looking at in the ego. So when you are in that frequency of love, a message that's been coming through for the three signs before you, then you're also attracting love. If you're out of that frequency, then you attract people that are in a lower frequency and kind of testing you and pushing you and helping you to kind of get out of the rut. So I do feel like the big thing for Cancer this month is to open up to this idea of, if I let go, or if I step into something that feels like it's more authentic, if I take a risk, even at the risk of rejection or being made fun of, that I'm going to be happier and I'm going to be able to succeed. But if I sit and I stagnate, I'm not going to maximize. I may be really successful at what I'm doing, but I won't be able to maximize my growth, my experience, and I'm not feeling a sense of fulfillment. So you need to be happy. That's basically what we're seeing here. The happiness feeds into the health. Love in particular is going to make you happy. So love what you're doing. Looking at some other messages for health, we got 2 court cards here. And whenever I see an abundance of court cards, it can show sort of inactivity. The Chariot as well can show a lot of time spent in cars and transportation, etc. So I think it's important for you to stretch to get out there. So if you can't go outside because of restrictions, because of the pandemic, then what you want to do is try to, walk around the apartment, or if you have an animal and you're allowed to go outside, move yourself, because it will move the energy. Move things around in your house, redecorate, organize. Good time to do that as well, because not only will it clear your space, but it's also going to clear out your kind of blockages as well. Most of the Pentacles cards are pretty good, so I feel okay about diet. I think it really is this month about focusing on stress and adding a little bit of exercise in that feels good to you. Let's look now at health. Let's look at wealth. This is going to be not just money, but for those of you in school, or if you're retired, it's like, what else am I going to do to feel a sense of fulfillment? It's self-confidence, and wealth to me is also kind of just like, what do I think of myself? So, okay, we have here, there's no need to worry. Everything is working out. It's peace, being at peace with what's going on. So for those of you that can't control something happening right now, you've lost a job, you're furloughed, you've been laid off, or you're working from home and you don't like it, or you're working too much and you don't like it. This is trying to say, like, we can't control what's going on around us. We can control our reaction to it, and we can also decide if we want to keep doing it. You still have control and freedom, but the control and freedom may require you to face a fear, which is, I might have to try something different. I might have to move away from this. I may not be able to go back and do what I did before. So finding peace with that sort of external stuff that's out of our control helps empower us to go within and start to manifest something we can control, that we can own, that we do feel attached to. The universe comes through. We didn't see it in your spread, but it's kind of like when a tower event happens. And I feel like the world in general just went through a series of major tower events, basically. But a tower comes through to clear the dust, to strengthen the foundation, to break up stuff that's not working. And yeah, you have to break it sometimes to fix it. That was something I was receiving months ago when I tuned into like, why are we going through a pandemic? It's probably one of the questions I get the most. I think it's because a lot of what we were doing wasn't working. It wasn't for our benefit. And we tend to sometimes be a stubborn species. And so, this Queen of Wands energy that we saw at the top here, reversed. It's working. It's been working. Why do I need to change? And it's also the energy of the Two of Swords, which is kind of like hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. Nobody was moving to change things. So on a planetary level, there was this punch of energy that came through and said, all right, you're all going to grow. You're all going to change. Sorry, you can't wait anymore. So now we're all growing and changing. And it's not accidental that your environment card it's auspicious. It's good. It's showing that you can turn it around. You can actually make something out of this. It may feel like I lost something, or I'm not inspired, or I can't get there. But the truth of the matter is you have more power than you think. It's just not maybe what you want to do. And that's okay to feel a sense of, well, that's not what I wanted. That's just authentic. But when you start to step into, okay, but I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to take control. I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to move it forward. All of a sudden, start to look forward to getting up in the morning, start to get ideas. The energy, the vitality comes back. So that's really what we're seeing. It's not like giving up. It's making peace with a tower event happen. The economy sucks. The job market's in a weird place, but it won't stay there forever. The planet has a way of healing itself. It's doing it now. And the human race is an amazingly resilient species. So we will come back too. Economies shrink and contract and grow and expand and do all these crazy things. That's just how life works, ups and downs. So let's ride the roller coaster a little bit and try to control what we can and let go of what we can't. Looking now at, and by the way, your two cards are okay. So what I'm seeing here for some of you with the Four of Pentacles is a temporary position of feeling like you're month to month. I've talked about before, like Six of Pentacles is in the black, feeling good. Five of Pentacles, you're skating by. Four of Pentacles, month to month, you might need support. Don't be afraid to ask for support if you need it. But I did get a Hanged Man, which shows me an indefinite period, but not forever, ever, okay? And for some of you, you might actually have this chance to just go after your dream now. And that's because what else can you do? Why keep trying something that's broken? So this is kind of like permission from the universe to go back to the drawing board and do what you want. So there we go. Let's look at love now. It's reversed, and it's also like a hermit card. So if you look at this, I had to look a couple of times. You can see the person kind of like peering out of the wall a little bit, like peeking out, peekaboo. And so the card is reversed, and it's a feeling of like, when is it safe? When can I reconnect? Sometimes feeling like you don't recognize maybe even the people that you're with. If you're, in quarantine or working from home, you're working with your children, you're working with your spouse, or if it's yourself, it's like, did I really know who I was? There's this energy of discovery that's kind of going to ripple through all relationships I would say this year. It's not just this month, but particularly for you, Cancer, in June, you're going to feel maybe triggered this month thinking, I don't think this is who I signed up to be dating or married to. Work through that energy, because this card to me is more one of rediscovering and sharing vulnerability with your friends, with your family, with your partners. You're going to find out you're not alone, because to me, this is the reverse of being in a hermit phase. So validate others when they are feeling that sense of not belonging or feeling like, I don't know what's going on. And then also feel free to talk to others. This can also show, for those of you that are looking for love, that confidence is going to be at play here. Like, are you ready to kind of explore deeper feelings with someone. It could also mean that someone else is shy and doesn't know how to step in. And when we were looking at the 2 court cards this month, as I said, there could be a lack of experience or maturity, or there could be an age difference. So there's some sort of inequity when it comes to how well suited that person is for you or how confident they are. So whether it's a new or an existing relationship, work to dissolve that or work to talk about that, because I feel like it's important to be on a more level playing field with your partners in life, okay? And it could also just simply be a reallocation of responsibilities. So if one of you is now maintaining the sort of economic weight and kind of taking on those duties, and the other partner may have to do things that they're not comfortable doing. So the lack of experience could just be something that could be eased over time. But there's a little bit of balancing to do in all relationships in your life this month. So sort that out, and I think you'll be okay. In your Destiny card, Destiny, of course, is the trajectory you're leading yourself into. So if you don't like it, change it. It says, Green Tara, Supreme Protection. You are protected, cords are being cut, move beyond limitation, trust. So I think some of the important messages there are to feel free to cut the cords if you want to, and to also understand that it's an important time to protect yourself. This card was reversed, so I feel like some of you may do a good job. It's also to me like a universal maternal card or like divine feminine card. So whenever I see like an Empress card that's sometimes in reverse, it can be about trying to help everyone else but you. And there were a lot of self-love cards that were reversed. The Me Time card that was at the beginning was reversed. Lovers itself was reversed. And the Queen of Wands. So with those 3 key cards, you need to focus on who you are, what you love. And I think that's going to help set everything into balance a little bit. When it comes to protection, boundaries. Don't be afraid to tell people what you need, what you don't want, how you need them to show up, since a lot of things are changing in this new world. Okay? Let me take a drink here, and then we're going to review what we just talked about. So if you just joined, you joined at a good point. Then we're going to move along to what the areas are for healing right now. All right, so let's start again here, just looking at what we talked about with the channeled message. Facing your fears is going to be super important this month. For some of you, this is also facing your dreams, and some of you might be afraid to go into that energy of possibility that we saw with the star. Freedom to explore, freedom to try new things, to fail, to learn. There is maybe not freedom in what's going on when we're looking at what's changing with how you're working or with how you're learning, but there is freedom in what else you can do next. And then this will give you that sense of control that you need. The control also has to do with the Queen and the Knight. So there's a feeling of the key relationships in your life having a little bit more control or experience over the other one. You want to try to bring that into some sort of balance. This month actually is all about you. With the Catalyst card, which by the way is the way that I connect everything. I forgot to introduce the card properly. The Catalyst basically sets the tone, and the fact that we have a card all about you at the beginning is showing me that the requisite work that needs to be done is internal. And so focus on how you feel, what you want, what you're trying to do. To me, these 2 cards are very similar, the Star card and this card, because they're both going up into your higher self and trying to discover that truth. The sooner you do that, the easier it's going to be to figure everything else out. Let go of something this month, even if it feels like it's hard to do it. A way of thinking, something in your house that you don't want. Release something. It's going to be good because it's going to open the flow of abundance. I know that sounds wacky, but it's true. So if you can donate something or give someone something that you don't need anymore, and it's just because you want to give it to them, that energy of service, of donating, of just letting it go will tell the universe, I'm not afraid that I won't get more. Send me something else. It opens you up to abundance. Make a decision this month that you're going to move forward. If you're feeling stuck, this is the month to shift through that. The plateau is going to end. It may not be that you can go back to work, that you can go back in public, but it could be a decision. I'm going to do this in my career. I'm going to work on myself, on healing in this area. There's a cognitive shift that can happen that will open up the dominoes for when we can finally start to have more of a normal interaction in business and in social spheres. It's interesting that the knight and the queen are at opposite ends here. One is in the past, deep past, one is the crowning card. And of course, it's actually a queen that's in the crowning position. So as a growth internally for you, what we're seeing here is that before you can get into that position of power, decision and movement need to happen. Then you can start to manage. If you are in a position of making things happen, don't forget the people around you. So whether you're a mother, a boss, a sister, an advisor, tuning into the people around you and really empathically understanding their point of view is going to be important. Also, just not digging your heels in. If you've made a decision in your life and you need to change it if it feels right. You don't have to be stuck forever in one point of view. For some of you, that's what the Two of Swords is about. For the rest of you, it's just to say, don't be afraid to look at what scares you, whether it's opening up the bills that are piling up, talking to a boss because you need to quit, or talking to someone at school because you want to change your major, or talking to your family because you're feeling alone. The sooner you go into the Two of Swords and get honest and make a decision and open up, the better. Six of Wands reversed. Do what's right for you. Do what's right for the greater good, even if it's not the popular decision. When you love what you are, what you're doing, how you're moving, people follow suit and will connect with that energy. The Lovers reverse. Really focus on who you are, what you're doing, and if you can't love yourself, flaws and all. I really don't believe in flaws anyway, but just sort of like shadow and light. You have to kind of integrate this month, and that's going to bring this relationship and this opportunity into balance. It's going to make you feel you're more in control of a situation. It's the most important thing. Everything this month is really about internal work. So it's self-love more than anything. If you are in a relationship, the power dynamics have to come into some sort of balance as well. I see a lot of growth potential this month. It may be more symbolic because I know a lot of you might be strapped for like money resources, but when it comes to internal development, and that's also what Pentacles can show, once you activate and get out of the sort of lack of inspiration or complacency, then great work happens. And then we see the Chariot, and I feel like for some of you, it's a change of course. The reversal could just be a decision to go in another direction. It's not the end of the world. And then the Star card, which I see as positive and auspicious no matter where it is saying, you know who you are, you know what you need to do, but for some reason, you're pulling back a little bit, you're holding back, you're overthinking it. Queen of Wands reverse is way too cognitive sometimes. And I think it's important to not overthink. You get in the way of your intuition when you do that. When you get into joy and happiness and love, everything opens up. You're going to feel happier. That's really what we're seeing. Give yourself time to play, to relax, to enjoy things. And if you have anything in your life that's just for fun, do a little bit more of that, especially if you are a teacher, a mother, someone that works in a hospital, someone that's constantly on the front lines dealing with stress. You need to play too. If you don't, you're just going to get burned out. We don't want to see that. Looking at wealth, make peace with what you can't control, and then control what you can control. And then you're going to just be a lot happier. Letting go of something could ironically and interestingly open up something. So when you let it, even if it's symbolic, if you feel like you don't have enough, there might be something in your house that you could donate to someone that needs it, that could also bring something back to you. So just somehow, whether it's your love, your time, your energy, or an old thing that you don't want, give something away and see how that opens up abundance in your life. All right, looking at health, wealth, love. There's a lot of people that are feeling like, where am I? Is it safe to come out? Is it safe to show who I am? That's part of the Star too. There may be a vulnerability that's coming through now that didn't exist before, and you're not alone. And that's really what this card is saying. You're not alone. A lot of people are in that same energy. So share, come out into the light. And I feel like some of this is coming through because you want to protect yourself. Who doesn't want to protect themselves? Vulnerability is a scary thing. But when you show who you are, a lot of times people can fall more in love with you because they know who you are, who they're dealing with, and then they're more apt to open up as well. It says on this one too that cords are being cut. So for some of you, there's a feeling like now is the time for me to like let go of some things, or if there's someone in my life that's trying to control me, I'm going to take that control back and say no. So that could be the proper boundaries and limits. Let's move along now to looking at where healing can take place this month. Just take another drink. We're going to look at past, present, and future influences and see where you can kind of create some healing, and also I think deal with that. Really the energy of fear is what I looked at here when I'm looking at the channeled message. So what are you afraid of? Let's kind of focus on that one thing, and how can we heal the fear or work through that energy of fear? All right, Three of Cups reversed. So the Three of Cups card can indicate a few things. As I'm looking at this one, it actually can just be a feeling of not fitting in. Sure, it can show dating and getting back out there, and sometimes a fear of how people will receive you when you're doing that. But I also feel like it can sometimes come through when you feel like an outsider or a rebel or someone who doesn't quite connect with what people expect from you. The reason that I'm going to that particular read is the Six of Wands energy was giving a very similar sort of thing, which is pressure by friends, family, society, or cliques in your life, little groups of people that you can't seem to break into. If you can't, or they don't want to let you in, because you can see the sort of restrictive energy here. It's like, I can't get through that portal. Maybe that's a blessing. This may not be the best group of people with whom to associate. Sometimes blocks are there for a purpose. Imagine if you've had a hard time fitting into a family, maybe you married into a family and they don't accept you, or if you're trying to fit into a workplace and they just don't get you. Reevaluate how much you need their approval. Remember that they're also lucky to have you in their presence, and spend less energy trying to seek approval from people who don't care about you, and focus more on the people that you can reach, focus more on your personal happiness and development. And the basic message here is cliques aren't worth it. We've all been through it. I mean, I'll speak for myself anyway. If you go through public school, there's always people that will laugh at you. There's people that are popular and like to kind of step on other people. And you learn over time that's just not worth my time and energy. And later, those people may not be happy anyway, and they're probably not happy when they're pushing that out. So we don't know what's going on in their heads, but don't feed that energy or that power. For the rest of you, it could be cold feet. Looking at some part of your life where it's about commitment. A lot of times the Three of Cups is about commitment. If you're in a relationship and it comes through, it doesn't always mean cheating. It can sometimes mean, am I sure that I want to do this? Because as I just said, the Three of Cups can sometimes be a blocking card. So if you decide to commit, whether it's like a contract of marriage or business, a partnership of some sort, you're sort of taking yourself out of the energy of exploring other options. When you're with the person that you love, or if you're working on a partnership in business that you really want to do, that's a good thing, because it's like, I found what I want. Don't rush. If you've rushed, look at that and think, am I still in that? Do I still have fears? Do I still have uncertainties? Because we're looking at fear. Am I afraid that I've missed something in my life? Whatever it is, you need to get into that energy and either think, no, that was an irrational fear, and it's probably something that would have always been there no matter what choice I made, or face the fear and think, yes, you know what? I did this and I wanted to do this. I need to give some energy to the other thing before I can move forward. Okay. So either let go of some people that would not let you be part of that clique, or if there's something in your life where you feel like I made a mistake or I'm about to make a mistake, you need to sort that out sooner than later so that you can move forward. Okay. Know that there is an irrationality. It's an emotional card. So do your research and sort through things, because sometimes we're just afraid. Isn't it called fear of missing out? FOMO. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean you've missed anything. It's just a fear of that. So I think you really want to decide. Part of it might be, what am I going to lose what's my opportunity cost for doing this? And am I willing to lose what I've built? You may not be. So you have to go through it and decide for yourself. It's an emotional decision. And I think that's what we're looking at here. Once you process the emotions and come to a decision, or just think like, I got to focus on this, you'll be okay. Let's look at the present. What fears are kind of blocking you now? So we have the Seven of Cups, indecision. Also, sometimes so many choices that you feel like, am I ever going to land on something? I love Seven of Cups because it's a great brainstorming card. It's a great jumping off point. But I think that if you try to spread yourself too thin, or if you try to just keep looking at, it's kind of like WebMD. If you're ever feeling remotely sick with anything, you suddenly think you have 17 illnesses because those symptoms can be anything. You got to turn that off and go to the doctor or focus on getting a good night's sleep and see how you feel tomorrow. Sometimes more information is just more information. More thoughts can just be more thoughts. So there are choices to be made, many of them good, with the Seven of Cups. Limit your sort of universe of choices, and I think that's going to be a really, really good thing to do. Okay. Just reading through some of the comments here. All right, let me look at future energy. We have the moon reversed. Okay, so with the moon card, this is all about moving through intuition, illusion, and fear itself. But the cool thing with the moon card is that once you overcome that, there's this really great energy of knowing who you are. The moon, the star, and the sun are some of the most powerful cards in the deck. And you need to move through this before you can become the star. And for many of you, if you can just look at what scares you, you won't be afraid anymore. So I feel like this month, all you have to fear is sometimes, what is it? Fear itself, but the unknown. I view the unknown as like creation, energy. When we look at space, the space between stars is potential for growth, for new things to come through. It's space, but we don't have to fear it. So I feel like some of you this month might just be in the space between, right? The space between this and the fruition of your goal. And it can be scary because you just feel like I'm hurling, I'm in an orbit, where am I going? But there's some order to this. And your own gravity, your own direction can push you into the right sort of path. So don't be afraid of the space, the calm, the silence, the night before the dawn. And that's what we're basically seeing here, is that there's this little period of unknown, of shadow energy that we have to integrate and dismiss and work through that's necessary. I had a friend of mine the other day who reminded me, because when you start to open up empathically, one thing that I can sense sometimes is if I have an attachment or if I need to clear something in my auric field. And I was complaining to a friend who's a light worker about this, and they said, yeah, but that weird thing that you were pushing out of your energy, it was there to show you something you had to work on. And I'm so grateful that I can sense when I have like an attachment or a blockage, and I can meditate and I can push it out. And my friend was saying basically that was a blessing. That was like the divine coming in. Sometimes I mention, like, if we see the devil card in here, it's not trying to take you down. It's kind of like a wink and a nod, like, hey, I know what you need to work on, and so do you. Do it. The moon is a very gentle version of that. It's just sort of like, what do you have to fear? Let's just look at this. Let's talk it through. Okay. So the sooner you do that, the better. The sooner you can get into the energy of shining brightly and feeling that abundance. This is like, 3 to 6 months out sometimes when we look at the outcome card in the Celtic Cross. So I feel like a lot of you are on that trajectory, and you just need to embrace it. Okay. Let's go ahead now and meditate for a moment. I want to move through the energy of go from night to day, because we see the moon, we see the star. So, or maybe like we'll do a connection of the moon and the star card. So it'll come to me as we meditate. Let's first kind of get into a nice seated position. You can lay down if you want to. And as you let go of any stress in your body, I just want you to take a nice deep breath. You can also do a little massage like I'm doing to your shoulders, kind of work out some of the knots that might be there. And inhale. And then on the exhale, release your shoulders, release your back. If you're sitting down on a couch or a sofa, just sink into that a little bit and feel the support beneath you. Imagine that support is like you're laying outside on a warm summer night, maybe in a hammock, looking up at the moon, looking up at the stars above you. As the moonlight shines down on you, this gentle sort of silver energy, imagine that you can almost see the particles of light that create that beam, that moonbeam that's gently illuminating what's around you. As you feel the warmth, at least in our meditation, it has warmth. As you feel the warmth and the light and the energy of the moon, I want you to feel safety. It's almost like you're pulling this electric blanket around you. It feels warm, it feels cozy, it feels predictable, it's okay. When you look outside of the spotlight, things get fuzzy. You might see something move, you might hear a noise that you're not sure of. I want you to imagine that this light can expand so that you can see what's there. That weird sound maybe was just an owl in the tree. The movement was maybe just a fox going back to its den. The weird sound that you also heard maybe it was just someone else out there trying to find their way home. There's nothing really to be afraid of. They're just things that we can't fully see, figures that haven't fully taken shape. Some of them can also be your own dreams and your own fears. We can make the shadows, we can dissolve the shadows. So tonight, let's imagine that the moon shines so brightly that you can see everything in your immediate vicinity. And I want you to feel this sense of being okay, knowing that illusion is just that. It's something that actually exists when you can have the energy of creation too. That's what's so fun about childhood, our imagination. We see the world as more magical than we do as an adult. In fact, it still is magical, and I want you to tap back into that part of you that believed in the unknown, believed in the ability to create, and kind of find your inner high priestess. Now, looking up at the moon, give it gratitude. Thank you for showing me the fears. Thank you for showing me the truth and for helping me see that it was just a shadow, and a shadow only exists when there is light. Turn your attention towards the stars above you and find your constellation. It can be a real one. It could be an imaginary one. You could trace out a new connection or asterism of stars that you want to see as you or as symbolic of you. Move into that constellation by connecting with a ray of light from one of the stars. And imagine that you could travel through that starlight and move towards that destination. And as you do, and as you leave the planet behind, your body safely in the hammock, but still connected to the earth plane, you feel this sense of perspective, looking back, where you are, who you are, how you got to be on that planet. And as you look at the starlight above you, and as you travel through this beam of starlight, you see the space in between things. And it doesn't feel so scary. It feels peaceful, and you're able to get perspective here. So just sit in the space between for a moment, the space between the star, which is really your higher self, the earth and your body and all of the sort of practical things, and just feel like I'm going to be okay. I'm going to understand who I am, and just listen to this sound meditation while you're in the space between and decide, what do I want now in the month ahead and then the year ahead, and get into that into that energy of creation. All right, take a nice deep breath. Inhale. Exhale. Feel a sense of being lighter and brighter. See your heart shining just as bright as the star that you were connected to. And now travel back through that star beam into your body on Earth. And you can travel through the heart space if you'd like. Giving yourself a moment to let your energy reintegrate with your body, feeling each and every cell is receiving an upgrade as you take one more breath. Before you open your eyes, as you exhale, I want you to take your hands and rub them together, feeling the warmth, the energy, the creative force that you've always had within you. Take your left hand, put it on your heart, your right hand on top of that. Feel that warmth, feel that heat, feel that inner passion and desire, and open the heart chakra up. Open yourself to abundance in all forms. And you can also wiggle your feet if you want to kind of activate and get back on the planet. Put your hands in your lap and gently open your eyes. Welcome back, everybody. Apollo came back as well. He's chilling out in the background. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here today. You have a lot of growth potential internally today. These two cards speak volumes, especially as we went out into space a little bit to go into the space in between and connected you with the energy of the star and used the moon to help you see that sometimes shadows are just cast by your own light, by your own thoughts. So use your thoughts to be more of an alchemist and create things that you want rather than things that you're afraid of. Okay. I really appreciate everybody for showing up. I saw that there was a lot of really generous people that did the super chat and super stickers. So thank you so much. When this is on replay, I'll make sure to express some gratitude in a comment, but I just wanted to say it right here and right now. Decks like this, the Revelation deck, direct result of all of your generosity. If you want some more information, feel free to connect with me on my website. It's nicholasashbaugh.com. And from that space, you can see where to follow me on social media. You can book an appointment. There's FAQs, all kinds of stuff there. If you want to just connect with me on social media, quick reminder for those of you that just want to go straight to it. My username is the same on Facebook, YouTube, and also Patreon. And it's just at Nicholas Ashbaugh. On Facebook, I'll use stories to remind you of upcoming videos. And it's a great way to keep in touch. If you want to give back a little bit, there are two choices, actually. You can use the join button here, and join is different from subscribe. You'll be given a menu, and you can decide if you want to sort of give an ongoing contribution. Patreon will allow you to do the same. If you would like to just say thank you, and you want to just do it out of gratitude without any sort of monetary exchange, like I said, subscribe is free, and the like button is also free, and it just helps people find me. Instagram, my username is Nicholas_Ashbaugh. I also use stories there. Great way to keep in touch. On Twitter, I will send out a tweet the morning of the reading and then also the day before. So it's at @Ashbaugh. And I saw a question earlier about PayPal. Sure, I am on PayPal. It is paypal.me and it's /Nicholas Ashbaugh. All of this, because I just went through it quickly, it's on my website. So probably better just to go to my website, nicholasashbaugh.com. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Thanks for all the support, Ryan and Maria, as you were answering all the questions today. I do appreciate it. For everybody that joined me in different time zones and at different times of the night and day, thank you so much. Much love from both Apollo and I. Great to see you guys. I will be back again later this week. The full schedule is listed on my website, so take a look there if you have any questions. All right, see you soon. Thanks again, everybody. Be well and shine brightly, okay? Thanks. Bye-bye.